Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Sunday, January 5th, Ian Cameron solo on this Sunday edition. Alex will be back in the house tomorrow as we break down this Sunday NHL card. We've got 5 games on tap tonight. Reminder that tomorrow's show and Mondays moving forward, we're back to 2 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern with the Monday show once again, starting next week, or starting tomorrow, I should say. So just make sure you're aware of that. We're going back to the weekday start time on Mondays here on the Ice Guys starting tomorrow. Back to 2 p.m. Eastern with the show. Let's go look back on yesterday, and it began with the Washington Capitals adding more misery for the New York Rangers. A 7-4 Washington win to get the Saturday NHL slate started. The Rangers not very good in their own end, not tidy, making mistakes. Their penalty kill struggled as the Capitals' power play struck for multiple goals. And every time the Rangers battled back and scored a goal, they would give up a goal right back to Washington. It was just one of those games for them yesterday. And Washington with a nice 7-4 win. Easy winner for the Capitals team total for me to start the days, which was good to get the day started on that footing. But a nice win there for the Capitals, who continue to be very good off a loss. They have been very, very good at bouncing back. And after losing in a shootout to Minnesota, they were able to do that once again with a nice 7-4 victory over the New York Rangers. Whoa, the New Jersey Devils, 0-3. They take the collar in their California road trip. 0-3 in Cali. Woof for the New Jersey Devils. Not great. They lose 3-2 to the San Jose Sharks. Back-to-back wins now for San Jose. And for New Jersey, disappointing to say the least. I mean, you were playing some really good hockey. And then the Christmas break kind of arrived, and they've been kind of not quite the same. Their offensive execution has not been great. They're missing on their chances. They're missing the net. That's been a big issue for the Devils. They're missing the net quite a bit. And look, another solid performance, though, too, from Yaroslav Askarov in net for the San Jose Sharks. If I'm Ryan Warsofsky, I keep giving him more opportunities in net. He is, I think, already kind of established himself as someone that we trust a little bit more than Alexander Georgiev. So like I said, a good victory there for the San Jose Sharks. And New Jersey, I'm sure, will be thankful to be getting out of the state of California after going 0-3 there with losses to the Sharks, the Kings, and the Ducks in the last several days. We move to the night games. Detroit with a 4-2 win against Winnipeg. Another bit of an upset, but I wasn't shocked about this one. I took a shot with Detroit here on the money line, thinking that this was a Red Wings team that I thought at this price, with the way they have been playing with Todd McClellan, they were worth a shot at that price. And I thought it was a terrific game for Detroit. It was a great road game. They dominated extended stretches of this game. I think in the second period, Winnipeg came at them strong, but first period, it was all Detroit. They played an outstanding third period on the road to bring that game home, and a very, very good road win there for the Detroit Red Wings, 4-2 over the Winnipeg Jets. They are now 4-1 under Todd McClellan, including 4 straight wins under their new head coach. And, well, we lost the first period over, but the best bet for me on the show was the Red Wings Jets over 5.5. That cashes in. So the full game over does hit. Now 4-1 first period over, 5-0 full game over for Detroit in the 5 games since the coaching change. So a very, very good win. The best of the bunch, certainly, for Detroit last night against Winnipeg. It was the Matthew Knies show in Toronto. This guy was outstanding, and it just shows you what he's capable of at the NHL level if you give him a few more years to get more experience under his belt. But Craig Berube, to his credit, reunited the Matthews, Marner, Knies top line, which had been a line for him early in the year. But with Matthews finally making his return, he decided, let's go back to that line. And boy, did it pay off. Just 13 points, I believe, combined for the 3 on that top line. And of course, for Matthew Knies, it was a 3-goal, 5-point night for Matthew Knies, including a hat trick. He was just dominant. The whole line was, and that line carries Toronto to a 6-4 victory. What turned into a bit of a sloppy game on both sides. It was one of those weird games where Toronto was scoring and Boston was answering right back. And it was just one of those back and forth games, and a nice solid win there for the Leafs, 6-4 over the Bruins. Leafs could not buy a win over the Bruins. Regular season, playoffs, street hockey, you name it. If it was Leafs versus Bruins, you could bet your bottom dollar Boston was going to win. But now all of a sudden, here's Toronto notching back-to-back regular season wins now over the Boston Bruins, trying to shake that aura that, hey, Boston's got our number. And a nice victory for the Leafs last night, 6-4 over the Boston Bruins. We'll get to their game, though, tonight. Bit of a tough spot, if you ask me, for the Leafs tonight. We'll get to that in a moment. Minnesota with a 4-0 win against Carolina last night. Shutout victory. Without Kirill Kaprizov, are you kidding me? Going to Carolina and shut him out? What a job by the Minnesota Wild. Outstanding. Give them all the credit because a lot of people thought with Kaprizov out, that team would kind of fall apart, and that has not happened. Gustafsson was outstanding in net. Rossi, Boldy, Eriksson. I mean, they're getting great contributions from that team. They're really digging in at both ends of the ice. Very, very solid win for the Minnesota. More than solid. To go into Carolina, that building, and shut them out 4-0. Oh, so impressive. Same with the Montreal Canadiens. Jakub Dobeš. Make sure you know the name. 2-0 now as a regular season starter in the NHL for Montreal. He was fantastic again last night. I have now seen Jakub Dobeš play a preseason game and now 2 NHL regular season games. And every time I've seen him play, he's looked really good. Now, I'm not going to go overboard yet and say he's going to be future starter. Maybe he's just going to be a really good backup in this league. Maybe that's his ceiling. But whatever it is, he has played well, and he's certainly been better than Caden Primo, who had been backing up Samuel Montembeault most of the season. What took Montreal so long, to make the switch here and go to Dobeš? Because Primo was not good at all at any point this year, but clearly they finally said enough's enough. They put Primo on waivers. They give Dobeš the chance to get this opportunity with the Montreal Canadiens, and he has definitely made the most of it. He was terrific last night. It was a great game, great win, and Montreal, to say that on this road trip, I know they lost to Chicago, but kind of that classic trap spot, kind of that classic spot where after a bunch of big wins, you fall flat. But outside of that Chicago loss, to say you on this road trip have beaten Florida, Tampa Bay, Vegas, and Colorado, that is very impressive. What a quartet of victories for the Montreal Canadiens on this road trip. They're in the playoff mix. They're in the hunt. And a lot of people wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago. But the problem is Montreal now, you've had a little success, great road trip. You can't have any pitfalls now. You can't go back home and have a tough homestand now. You got to try to follow this up and sustain it. But absolutely, it's a terrific win last night for the Canadiens, 2-1 in a shootout over the Colorado Avalanche. The Columbus Blue Jackets continue to, like I say, when they lose at home, it's competitive. But they've been winning a lot at home as well, and they win 6-4 against St. Louis last night. They do catch the Blues on a back-to-back. Although, I'll tell you what, that got way too close for comfort for the Jackets, as they at one time had a 5-2 lead in that game. And then here's the Blues responding to make it 5-4 in that game. It was 5-1 at one point for Columbus. Then it became 5-4, 3 unanswered goals for the Blues. They cut it to 1, but Columbus was able to survive, hang on, and get the empty netter to put it away and get the 6-4 win over the St. Louis Blues in that one. We saw Dallas 3-2 in overtime against Utah. Find a way to win. Thomas Harley gets the overtime winner in that game. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay, we took them against LA, fading a team or betting on a team after losing to San Jose did not work for us here with Tampa Bay. I mean, I surrender to the LA Kings and their home ice dominance, man. This was my one time going against them at home, and they still found a way to win. Very, very impressive victory. I thought it was a solid performance overall from Darcy Kemper, because, look, Tampa Bay had the better of the play, 34-21 in shots. Kemper was really strong, and the Kings just capitalized on one more of their chances than Tampa did. Kempe with the game winner in the third period, and a 2-1 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning there in that game. I mean, you got to give LA credit at home. Now, here's the thing. Dennis Bernstein, who does a great job covering the Kings, did say that, look, they've played a lot of East teams, a lot of, middle of the pack teams. They're going to play a lot of Western Conference teams. and a lot of division games coming up for the LA Kings. So this has been a great run. They're showing, what they're capable of. But now the schedule is going to get tougher. Division games, those are always more difficult, and they always put you through more stress physically, especially. Let's see how they fare with this next swatch of games, which is going to ramp up the intensity, if you will, for the LA Kings. But certainly they've been playing great, especially on home ice. Nashville 4-1 against Calgary last night. Nashville, look, that's kind of a bad loss for Calgary because you got Nashville, coming in there back to back. Nashville going into last night was 1-5 on back to backs. They were 1-11 as road underdogs going into last night. So that's the kind of odds they were up against last night. So it was really set up nicely for Calgary. But you know what lost Calgary this game? Special teams. They had power plays early. They didn't score on them. And Ryan O'Reilly scores on 2 Nashville power plays, and that was the difference. Nashville with the 4-1 win there over Calgary. Edmonton 4-2 against Seattle. Split the over by Fecta here for me. Oilers with a nice road win. They were on a back-to-back, too, after winning against Anaheim on Friday night, but solid road win there for the Edmonton Oilers. They made life easy for Calvin Pickard, and, credit to them for that because I thought Seattle would have more chances to score, but again, they only put up 17 shots. You do have to give the Oilers credit. Pretty solid defensive game there. And then last game of the night was Buffalo-Vegas, 3-1 for Vegas. It was really a game that Vegas was in control of most of the way. Buffalo tried to mount a push, although we do cash the bargain bin special. Jason Zucker, plus 300 for the Buffalo Sabres, able to cash the bargain bin, which was great to see. So it was a nice 2-0 sweep for me with best bet and bargain bin on the show yesterday. So great to see that come through. Zucker, the only goal for the Buffalo Sabres in that 3-1 loss. All right, let's get into Sunday's games. We've got 5 of them, and we'll begin with an ABC afternoon nationally televised game, again involving the New York Rangers as they take on the Chicago Blackhawks. Rangers minus 130. Road favorites. Look at this total, 6.5, shaded to the over. Huge movement here toward the over in this game. Probably a sign of people seeing what they saw yesterday out of the Rangers, which was a defensive calamity against the Washington Capitals, losing that game by a score of 7-4. People kind of thinking, wow, after that, how do we not bet the over here? That's going to be the interesting part. I will say this, games in Chicago, Rangers and Blackhawks, 6-3, 6-2, 7-1, 4-3. A lot of high-scoring games in Chicago between these two teams. I certainly lean over, but, 6.5 shaded to the over. And with all due respect to, Louis Domingue, he's a marginal goaltender at this stage of his career. But, coming back from the AHL, he's had some stints before with the Rangers. He got into one game last year. Obviously was with Pittsburgh before that when he had the memorable quote there, the spicy pork and broccoli during the playoff game. It's one of these situations where, look, I know Domingue has been around the block. By the way, I think what a lot of people see too, and why this total 6.5 and it's juiced over. Domingue has a 4-10 record, a 3.64 goals against average, and 888 save percentage with Hartford in the AHL. Those aren't good numbers in the American Hockey League. And now you're coming up here to the NHL. So I think people kind of see that as well as a reason why maybe we'll see goals here with the Rangers and the Blackhawks. Chicago off a 4-2 win against Montreal. We'll see how they fare here. I'm on Chicago here, plus 110, plus 115. To me, Chicago showed me enough life against Montreal. We're going to listen to the quote that Nick Foligno said after the game against Montreal, saying it's a new year now. We felt embarrassed by the Winter Classic. We're going to start playing the kind of Blackhawks hockey you guys deserve. That's the direct quote from Nick Foligno, the captain of the Chicago Blackhawks, when he spoke with Darren Pang after the game, that they feel they've got better hockey in them. And obviously there's a Rangers team that you're capable of beating right now. There's no question. And really the Rangers, doesn't matter who they play right now, the Rangers, I'm okay with fading them when they're a road favorite right now with what we've seen out of them. So I will go with Chicago here. I mean, I lean to the full game over too. I might sprinkle on that, but I'm more so interested in the side here with Chicago. Plus 115 is the best price still available with them right now for this one against the New York Rangers. Like I said, as far as this one goes, I believe Alex is on the first period over here, Rangers and Hawks, minus 140. So Alex likes the first period over here in this game. I lean to the over by Fecta. It's probably going to be a sprinkle for me, but primary bet is Chicago here, money line, plus 115 here in this one. And like I said, Louis Domingue does not have good numbers down in the American Hockey League at all. Again, when you're talking 888 save percentage and a 3.64 goals against average in the AHL level, that's concerning. And look, the Rangers are not making life easy on their goaltenders right now. Just ask Jonathan Quick and Igor Shesterkin. They are giving up way too many chances. They're giving up way too many good looks. They are turning the puck over way too much. And if they give up those kind of looks to in front of Louis Domingue with the numbers he's had at the American League level, could be a recipe for disaster. All right, New York Islanders and Boston Bruins. We've got even money, minus 110, both sides here, 5.5 the total in this game. As far as props go, yeah, if you're going to bet anyone on the Rangers, bet Will Cooley, bet some of those players that are showing up, and he seems to be for them. And for Chicago, Bertuzzi, Foligno, Mikheyev, those would be some of the ones I'd be interested in for Chicago. As far as this game goes, we've got the Islanders and Bruins. Like I said, even money, 5.5 the total in this game. I'm going to look over 5.5 here simply because of series history. 6-2, 5-2, 5-4, 5-1, 6-3. This is another one of these deals where series history over, like with Vancouver versus Seattle, like with New York Rangers versus Florida Panthers, where it's just when the Penguins, Islanders, the same two teams getting together, and it just ends up being goals. And we're seeing that repeatedly with Islanders versus Bruins. And a lot of these overs have been with the total at 5.5. And yet some of these games have had 7 and 8 and 9 goals. So like I said, when I see series history this strong trending to the over, and you're going to give me a 5.5, I'm going to bet it. So over 5.5. I'm going to take Boston here, though. I'm going to take Boston minus 110. I still feel they're a better team than the New York Islanders. I don't trust the Islanders. They've lost 3 in a row against the Penguins and 2 back-to-back against Toronto. I know they've lost 3 in a row. Boston's now lost 3 in a row, but 2 of those were Washington and Toronto, pretty good teams overall for Boston. I thought Boston played all right last night, but every time they got back into the game or tied the game or something good happened, they got a goal, whether it was from Frederick, whether it was from Geekie or Pasternak, Toronto would just answer right back immediately, and there was really no opportunity for Boston to seize momentum in that game because Toronto would just get the momentum right back and score again. So I still feel Boston's a notch better than the Islanders. I feel like the Islanders are just, you look at the Islanders, they got a win against Chicago and a win against Pittsburgh. And I believe when they beat Toronto, which was their one quality win in the last 10 games on December 21st, they caught Toronto in a brutal spot, on a back-to-back. So, there's not a lot of evidence here that the New York Islanders are a team that's beaten quality opposition. Boston, you could argue, are they quality opposition? But I think back at home, I like them enough to bet them here at minus 110, Boston Bruins in this spot. And I know we're going to see Jonas Korpisalo on the back-to-back for Boston because it was Swayman last night. I don't think there's a huge gap between them right now. We've said Swayman's been a little bit better lately, but Korpisalo's at least somewhat capable, 2.71 goals against average. You'd like to see the save percentage be a little bit better. And in his last 3 starts, he's kind of seen his play down slip a little bit, but I still am going to take Boston. I think this is cheap. I think it's cheap with Boston minus 110 at home here in this one. And I like over 5.5. Again, we're buying into the series history here. A lot of overs with the Islanders versus the Bruins in recent meetings here. Although it is telling that Aaron's a huge Bruins fan, and he likes the Islanders here in this spot. So, I respect that because he knows his team very well. There's no question about that. I just feel they're still better than the Islanders. I think you're being too hard on your team, Aaron. I think there's a spot for them to win. I know tough turnaround. It takes a lot out of you playing Toronto. Those Toronto-Boston games are intense. They're physical. A lot of emotion, but maybe not the easiest turnaround. Certainly the New York Islanders do have a rest advantage here, 2 days off. That's significant, but, I don't trust the Islanders flat out, and I think you're getting a discount with Boston because of it. So, yeah, minus 110 Boston, over 5. And I'm with you on Morgan Geekie. Morgan Geekie's the prop to look at. Justin Brazeau as well for Boston might be worth a look here as well for them. For the New York Islanders, Pajot still up on the top line. I think Anthony Duclair, is someone to keep an eye on because he's a streaky scorer. Once he gets one, he could get on a heater and start scoring in bunches as well. So, like I said, JG Pajot, Duclair, I think, are the props I'm interested in on the Islanders side for this one. All right, Pittsburgh, Carolina. That game is 6 p.m. Eastern, by the way. Note the start time. So is this one. Penguins and Hurricanes, 6 p.m. Eastern start down in Raleigh. Carolina minus 210, home favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the over in this game. Not good, obviously, when you see Carolina come back home where they've been so strong this year and you get shut out by Minnesota 4-0. Certainly a bounce-back spot for the Carolina Hurricanes. But there are some concerns with this team. They have played some rather mediocre hockey for the first time this year for an extended period. 4-6, losing record for the Carolina Hurricanes in the last 10 games. So they have not been quite playing up to snuff here in recent games. We'll see if they can bounce back here against Pittsburgh. The good news is they've played Pittsburgh twice already this year. 9-2 the score in the 2 games combined. So they have dominated the Penguins in the 2 previous head-to-head meetings this year. So it does feel like a bounce-back spot here for Carolina. I'm going to dabble in the over 3.5 team total with Carolina, but obviously you know what I like more than that. System play. Carolina off a shutout loss. Now, system play did not go well with New Jersey, San Jose yesterday, but we do have it in play here for Carolina, losing 4-0 against Minnesota yesterday. One thing I do want to point out with Carolina, they've only been shut out once previously. It was a 6-0 loss to Florida. Actually, twice. 6-0 loss to Florida. The next game was 4-2 loss to Seattle, where it was a push on the full game over. First period did go over the total, though. And then they got shut out by Ottawa by a score of 3-0. And then in the next game, the full game stayed under. The first period did go over, though, in that game against Columbus after the shutout loss to Ottawa. So based on that, you got one full first period over. Actually, both games went over in the first period. And then you had a push with the full game over and a loss with the full game over in the 2 previous times we've seen Carolina play a game after a shutout loss. So that's where we're at here. But yes, first period over, full game over, system play here, Penguins and Hurricanes. And a little bit less of a bet on Carolina team total over 3.5. Because the one thing about Carolina, home loss and then at home again, some of these games they've been able to get to 4 in a lot of instances. Look at that Ottawa game. Perfect example. Shutout at home by the Ottawa Senators. And in the next game, they scored 4 in a victory against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So that's why I like the team total. We've seen that. We've already saw them just recently when they got blanked at home. They scored 4 in the next game. So that's what we're looking at. Canes team total over 3.5 and a over by Fecta here with the system play in effect. Carolina off the shutout loss. Roslovic goal prop. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to keep riding him as far as goal props. He's been very good, obviously. Next up, we've got Philadelphia and Toronto. The Leafs minus 150, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. This is an interesting scheduling spot, really, for both teams. For Toronto, it's yet another back-to-back. I don't think there's a team that's played many more back-to-backs in the league than Toronto since the start of December. It feels like they played a back-to-back every week, since the start of the new year. They've obviously been very good, 7-3 their last 10, 3-game win streak, back-to-back wins against the Islanders, and then they beat Boston. We'll see if they can make it 4 in a row here tonight against the Flyers. So it's a back-to-back for Toronto and 3rd game in 4 nights for them. Philadelphia, meanwhile, they've been off since Thursday when they played in Vegas, but they're coming back to Toronto, to the East Coast, after a 4-game road trip out west, the 3 games in California, and then they were in Vegas. So it's kind of a weird spot for them as well coming into this game for the Philadelphia Flyers. But we've got Ivan Fedotov confirmed in net for the Philadelphia Flyers. Erson's out once again, which is just heartbreaking for them. They just get him back, and now all of a sudden he's hurt again and injured and unavailable. So it's Ivan Fedotov and his rather miserable 3.48 goals against average and .877 save percentage here in this matchup. I don't trust him. I think Dennis Hildeby, the Hildebeest, as they're calling him in Toronto, is going to be a good goalie in time. At the NHL level, I'm not sure I'm trusting him yet. I've now seen him, make 3 starts here in the NHL, .875 save percentage, 3.69 goals against average. He's a very raw, young goaltender, and I think he still needs a little more seasoning at the American Hockey League level before I'm totally ready to trust Dennis Hildeby. Again, I think he's a good prospect, going to be good in time, but I think we're not there yet with him ready to play at a stupendous level yet at the NHL. So this is probably a clear over for me at 6.5. It is, in fact. So Flyers, Leafs over 6.5. I'm going to sprinkle on a Flyers money line not money line with the Dotov. No, I can't do it. But I will sprinkle on Flyers team total over 2.5 at -135. I think Philadelphia can score 3 goals in this game. Certainly, they're going to be motivated to do so, coming off the 5-2 loss to the Vegas Golden Knights in their last game. This is a Philadelphia team that prior to the loss to Vegas, this is a team that had scored at least 3 goals in 7 straight games prior to Vegas, where they lost 5-2. So prior to that game, Philadelphia had scored 3 goals or more in 7 straight games. And that's all we need here. Philadelphia gets 3 goals. We cash our team total. I'm going to lay off the money line. I can't do it with Fedotov. I can't. He has not been good at any point lately that I've seen him play. And we know Philadelphia is being let down by their goaltending, which is a big reason why. I mean, this is one of these teams where they're not giving up expected goals and high danger chances to the level of the goals they're actually giving up. And it's a product of they're not getting good enough goaltending right now. That's why they're not playing this bad defensively, but the goaltending's making it look bad. And again, Philadelphia gives up 5 to Vegas, 5 to LA, 7 to Pittsburgh, 4 to Columbus, 7 to LA, 6 to Detroit. It has just been an extended period of time now where this team has just had a hard time keeping the puck out of the net, and the goaltending issues have been a big reason for it. So we'll go with Flyers team total over 2.5 and full game over 6.5 here with this game. As far as props, yeah, a lot of Ontario boys, as people in the chat are saying, going back to Toronto to play against the Leafs here. So, yeah, you can factor in all of them. Tyson Forster, Noah Cates in particular are guys that are playing pretty well offensively of late for the Philadelphia Flyers. Forster, I like what I've seen from him. He has got 5 goals in the last 7 for the Philadelphia Flyers. Morgan Frost's the big one. Morgan Frost is a guy that, I know the last 3 games he hasn't scored. He had 3 in 3 games before that. He's been held off the scoreboard. No goals in the last 3. But his father, Andy Frost, is a guy that was the public address announcer for the Toronto Maple Leafs for a good, I would say, 10 or 15 years when the Leafs first moved from Maple Leaf Gardens to the Air Canada Centre, as it was called at the time, now Scotiabank Arena. Morgan Frost's father, Andy, was the longtime PA announcer for Toronto and a very well-known radio DJ in Toronto, Q107, the classic rock station. He did a psychedelic Sunday morning show on that station. So Andy Frost, a known Toronto figure, dad of Morgan. So going back to Toronto probably means I'm sure Andy's going to be there watching the game, probably in attendance. So, yeah, definitely I would say Morgan Frost is probably worth a look here as far as Philadelphia props are concerned. Nyes and Matthews and Marner were outstanding last night. Obviously, they had a huge night, the hat trick for Matthew Nyes. But don't lose sleep on McMahon. It feels like a McMahon, Domi, Robertson night. I know last night was the night for the big line for Toronto. But don't be surprised if, maybe McMahon, Domi, and Nick Robertson maybe are heard from tonight because they were quiet last night. But again, they didn't have to be all that prevalent last night with just how amazing the top line was for the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. But yeah, maybe a McMahon, Domi, Robertson kind of night. We'll have to wait and see on that for the Toronto Maple Leafs in this game. Like I said, for Philadelphia, yeah, Morgan Frost definitely, I think from a situational standpoint, I like the way it sets up for him going into this game tonight. All right, next up, final game of this Sunday slate. Tampa Bay Lightning, Anaheim Ducks. Tampa Bay -170, road favorites. Look at this total, 7. It's been a while since we have seen a total in this range. 7 shaded to the under for the Lightning and the Ducks here in this one. So New Jersey was in this spot yesterday, trying to avoid 0-3 in California, and they couldn't. They lost to San Jose. I ain't chasing Tampa Bay at -170. Yesterday was the good spot. Yesterday was the good price. You lose to San Jose. that's a game that should deliver full focus and put you back in the win column. It didn't, albeit LA's played well at home. And now you've lost 3 in a row against Montreal, San Jose, and LA, including the first 2 games of this road trip if you're Tampa Bay. And now you're obviously laying a big price here against Anaheim. An Anaheim team that, look, they've had won 3 in a row. The win streak got snapped Friday night in Edmonton against the Edmonton Oilers, but they only lost 3-2. They outshot the Oilers 29-26. It was a pretty even hockey game. I mean, you got to give Tampa their due. They're playing some better hockey. I'm not laying minus 170 against them tonight. But am I taking the Ducks? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I will say this. We saw Vasilevsky get the start against the Kings last night. So a pretty good chance we're going to see Jonas Johansson quite possibly for Tampa Bay here on a back-to-back, who had been playing better until the last game against Montreal, where he took the L with a 5-2 loss to the Montreal Canadiens the last time he started for the Lightning, giving up 4 goals in that game. And again, we'll see if he's in net. If he's in net, I'm interested maybe in an Anaheim team total over 2.5 here. That probably will be the approach, a little safer than taking the money line. 7's a pretty high number. I will say this. If Dostal's in net, 7's pretty high for the way he continues to play in net right now for the Anaheim Ducks. Because you look at the recent games for Anaheim with Dostal in net, he was started against Philly. That game was 3-1. He started against New Jersey. That game was 3-2. He started against Edmonton on Friday night. That game was also 3-2. Only the one game went over 7 goals, and that was the game in Anaheim against Edmonton where the Ducks won 5-3 last weekend. So, like I said, by the way, too, another point is that crazy Anaheim record. And Jonathan Davis is aware of it. Someone also sent it to me that Anaheim's record, like 14-1 or 15-1 when they score 3 goals or more this year. So it's almost one of those deals where, if you like Anaheim, I'm talking about how the team total, I might look at 2.5. Well, if they score over 2.5 goals, the track record is what? 14-1, 15-1 for the Anaheim Ducks this year when they score at least 3 goals. You're better off maybe just taking a shot on the money line with Anaheim. If you think they're going to score the 3 goals here. So, plus 150, I'm interested. Let's see. I'm just waiting on the goalie confirmations. You never know with Cooper. I wouldn't expect to see a Vasilevsky, but we also could see Cooper say, you know what? I know it's back-to-back, but Vasilevsky's always one of these goalies that wants the net regardless of the situation. He certainly wouldn't talk John Cooper out of starting on a second straight night. And because they're trying to salvage one game on this California road trip, maybe Cooper will stick Vasilevsky back in there tonight. So I don't want to move on this yet until I get the confirmation of who's going to start for the Lightning, and for that matter for Anaheim, because it's not confirmed either that it's going to be Dostal, but you certainly would expect that it's going to be Dostal here because this is not a back-to-back for Anaheim. They play against Calgary on Tuesday. So we're just waiting on that info. And like I said, not moving on it till then, but kind of leaning to the Ducks in some form, either money line or team total at the moment. That's about it. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Make sure you sign up. We're at 200. I believe we hit 200 members, by the way, yesterday. We've been pushing for that milestone. We have indeed hit 200 Patreon members. Well, let's go for 250. Let's keep it climbing. Again, it is a great time of year to sign up as a Patreon subscriber, Patreon page member, because we're going to start introducing our exclusive Patreon-only live betcasts. And there you see the schedule for January. We have 3 Ice Guys live betcasts in January. 2 of them will be Patreon exclusive. Tuesday, January 14th. That is going to be our first betcast of the new year. That one will be only to Patreon members, a Patreon exclusive live betcast. January 21st will be our free-for-all public betcast this month. And then Tuesday, January 28th will be a second Patreon exclusive live betcast here in the month of January. So again, just $10 per month. You're going to get all the goalie charts, totals charts, stats. You're going to get the daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted on the Patreon page each and every day. And of course, access to the live exclusive betcasts and our Player Suite interview series. We already did one with Phil Sykes a few weeks ago. Make sure you check that out. And we've got Carter Hutton. We're on the radar not to be on the Daily Show, but to do a pre-recorded Player Suite show with Carter Hutton, who's been on the show before. So that's going to be for Patreon members only as well. So again, we've got lots coming up in the new year on the Patreon page, including our several exclusive Patreon-only Ice Guys Live betcasts. So make sure you sign up. It's just $10 per month, and your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show long-term. $10 per month. Make sure you sign up, patreon.com/Ice Guys. And also check out the Ice Guys store. We've still got the 25% off deal in place until, I believe, January the 6th, until Monday, tomorrow. So one more day to take advantage. 25% off all items in the Ice Guys store. So make sure you get your gear and your merch. The 25% offer is good until tomorrow. 25% off at the Ice Guys store. Make sure you check it out. iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, we got Bargain Bin Special of the night and Best Bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgater Sofa, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. at 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Fresh off a winner with Jason Zucker of the Buffalo Sabres, plus 300 last night with my bargain bin special of the night. See if we can make it 2 in a row. I've already mentioned it on the show. Morgan Frost, Philadelphia Flyers. Back in Toronto, connections there. Dad was the public address announcer, Andy Frost, years ago for the Leafs. I'm sure he'll be in attendance because I think he still lives in the Toronto area, if I'm not mistaken. But I like the angle. Certainly an Ontario kid, back in Toronto. Certainly played better lately for the Philadelphia Flyers. And you got a great price for him, too. Plus 470. For Morgan Frost to find the back of the net here tonight for the Philadelphia Flyers. So really like the angle, really like the price. Morgan Frost, Philadelphia, plus 470 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bet for this Sunday card. We're going to, you know what? I'm going to go to that Flyers Leafs over 6.5. I like it. Hildeby is a work in progress. He's still a project. He's not a finished product yet. As an NHL goaltender, and the numbers bear that out. Save percentage below 900, goals against average above 3 in his 3 previous NHL starts this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I sure as hell don't trust Ivan Fedotov in net right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. His goals against average is almost 4, and his save percentage is well below 900. So I can see goals being scored in this game. The only concern would be Craig Berube may want to tighten it up after a 6-4 game last night, but I don't know if I trust either of these teams in between the pipes tonight in a spot like this as far as keeping the goals down. So let's go with Flyers Leafs over 6.5, minus 105. That is going to be my best bet here for this Sunday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Oh, by the way, Alex, I do want to mention his stuff because he passed it along. He is on Rangers Blackhawks first period over, and his best bet is New York Islanders Boston Bruins over 5.5 minus 110. So Alex's best bet, Alex B. Smith's best bet, New York Islanders Boston Bruins over 5.5 minus 110. And his bargain bin special, he did send one. Teuvo Teravainen, Chicago Blackhawks, plus 380 for bargain bin special of the night. So Teuvo Teravainen, Chicago, plus 380, bargain bin special for Alex B. Smith on this Sunday. There you have it. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Appreciate it very much. And again, we're back to 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow with the Monday show, and that will be the start time for the Ice Guys every Monday moving forward. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back with you tomorrow on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern time for another edition. Oh, by the way, shout out to Matt Robinson. His Reno team, I watched it against FDNY, the rematch. They got clocked 5-0 in the first game. They lost 2-1 in overtime. It was a heartbreaker. That goalie for FDNY, Nick Battaglia, looked like fucking Marty Brodeur against them last night. He was incredible. You know, Reno had a shit ton of chances. Matt had a shit ton of chances in that game to score, and he was brilliant, that goalie. They played a lot better. They probably deserved to win. And it was a really good hockey game for senior hockey. So there you go. Great stuff there. Shout out to Matt and the Reno Ice Raiders. Valiant effort in the loss last night. There you have it. We're out. See you tomorrow on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.